There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
Hey, welcome to Media Mothership here on Edge Radio 99.3 FM, as well as streaming on YouTube and Twitch in some capacity.
Yeah.
You know, we're checking out a bit of a alternative audio recording setup. Because for anyone that tried to listen in via those streams the last 2 weeks, there would have been a buzzing sound, which we could claim was deliberate in an attempt to create some kind of torture for our listeners. But I would not do that. So I've been having to clean it up. But now we're going to be trying to record it off the web stream. So we are, of course, listening on demand via edgeradio.org.au. And please feel free to post chat, comment in the window for YouTube or Twitch if the audio is just way out. We're trying an 8-second delay, so that's enormous. 8 seconds. So yeah, if you do type a chat, obviously any response we have is going to be really, really out of date by the time. You can SMS us directly on 0488881107 as well to let us know how we're sounding. Give us some encouragement, maybe. Right, so Media Mothership. Media Mothership is a show that explores how media shapes our understanding of the world around us. Last week we had Daniel and Edward in, who are two indie filmmakers talking about their techniques for world building and cinematography. So today's episode is going to be more of a survey of some unusual media news culture stuff that we've come across. I am Dr. Craig, joined by Lord Taylor.
Hello.
I got my script up now. Yep, Dr. Craig joined by Lord Taylor. And have you done anything? Because I know I'm a real doctor in a way.
Yeah.
Which does seem to somehow warrant that qualification. Yeah. Media and journalism lecturer for 20 years.
Wow.
I got the PhD. So I do feel that is worthwhile establishing my credentials for a show that's about media studies.
Yeah.
Your lordship just amused me because it came up in a general discussion about various titles you've collected. This one was based on that Scottish plot of land scheme.
Yes.
I won't call it scam. I'll call it
hey, it's technically a donation to a wildlife fund.
So, that's great.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that is nice. Right, yeah. But you're also you're an ordained minister.
Ordained minister as well?
Through another scam.
Okay, that one is more of a scam, but but not in Texas.
Because it's legit. That's where you
got legit in
Texas. Did you see that on one of those pop-up things that came up on your website? Like you were just browsing something and a pop-up came up and it's like, oh, click that.
I was looking up qualifications you can get for free.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, what? I'm really curious now what you uncovered in that research.
Just that.
Really? Okay, right. Yeah. To be, is it a Christian religious connection there?
I believe so. Some sort of.
Wow, you believe so?
Yeah. Well, that's religion. I believe so.
Well, it's a religion, yes. It could be, what is it, my favorite one, the Pastafarians, the Church of the Spaghetti Monster people. It could be that.
It could be.
That you've suddenly
but that's not legit.
Pot, kettle, black. Hello. Have you expanded into any other qualifications since we've last established your current titles?
I feel like I have, but I can't remember what it is.
All right. Well, if it does come to you over the next 40 minutes of the show, do feel free to let us know. Because, we've given you that Lord title for the show, but maybe there's another one we can put on there.
Okay.
You're doing your Masters in Education at the moment.
Yeah.
So you can be M.A. Taylor, Taylor?
That's true. Well,
Taylor?
when it comes to masters, the sort of archaic term for a person who has completed a masters is a magister, which I quite like.
Really? Magister?
Yeah.
Really? Have you put that through ChatGPT to make sure? That is, or is that where that came from?
No.
ChatGPT. Magister.
Yeah.
It's close to being like a minister and some kind of legal court person. It feels like
I believe...
Magistrator.
I'm not sure whether it is the case, but when you've got... what's his name? His Dark Materials, and they've got the Magisterium. I think that might be where... I can't remember his name, but the fellow that wrote it, Philip Pullman, got it from.
Magister.
Yeah.
All right, well, feel free to SMS in on 0488811707
Prove me wrong.
if you can prove Taylor wrong. I wonder if there's an archaic term for a doctor. A PhD doctor, not medical doctor.
Yeah.
FUD. All right. Well, let's queue up a little palate cleanser. Shall we? Queue up. Here we go. Is that a little loud? I don't know. Okay, web article from Lifehacker. The Animedoro method that...
I mean, I've heard of Pomodoro.
Yes. So this is the Animedoro method, which can make you more productive while giving you more downtime. You know, I've been in a bit of a funk coming out of Christmas. Funk.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get a musical theme. Funk. Just trying to get productive again. So it always reminds me of that great episode of Red Dwarf where the character of Rimmer is preparing for his exams. And
That's my favourite.
yeah. And the novelization I love because it goes into a bit more depth, but they talk about how his regime of getting prepared for the exam involves 95% of it involves basically planning it, right? So various highlighters and colors and breaking down the time ahead and then running out of time because he spent all this time looking in how best to be productive to prepare for an exam. So he doesn't get to prepare for the exam.
Apart from that one time he had his spasm.
I can't remember that. And did he pass?
No, of course he didn't.
So yes, I feel like I've done that error in terms of been doing a little bit of research into what the current status is of the Getting Things Done manifesto. This one amused me because it linked to anime. So basically, it established.
That's amusing.
Yeah, so it sets itself up as the spin-off of the Pomodoro. What is the Pomodoro technique?
I've heard of it, never actually done it.
Right. It's the
it's
20-minute one.
Breaks, yeah.
Yeah, 25 minute various permutations of it. Basically, it's a kind of work for X number of minutes, then give you an X minute break. So I usually do it 25 minutes of doing this task, and you'll have this little clock, either a physical clock or you can get these Pomodoro apps and so forth. You set how long you want to do your task for, and then it'll give you, like you said, a 5-minute break. And you can set it up to, like you do four sessions, and then you give yourself a 15-minute break, something like this.
That reminds me of like HIIT, in terms of like...
Okay.
Okay. No, in terms of like a regime for in the gym, high intensity interval training.
Yeah.
It's very much the same sort of thing.
Yes. So, and I think probably the philosophy underpinning both of them is the same. Don't go into seeing this task as a kind of monolithic, overwhelming commitment. Break it down into smaller, bite-sized little engagements.
Yeah, and because otherwise your brain will start to sort of like, I'll just go and look at this store online.
Yeah, you could find yourself being distracted. You could get swept down with a lot of self-defeatist narrative. I'll never get it done. It's too much. So forth. Anyway, Pomodoro technique's a philosophy often recommended for many people to try because it's very simple.
I should try it.
Yeah. So this Josh Chen is a student, a med student, who 3 years ago uploaded a video explaining how over the course of 4 months he was able to study for 600 hours and still watch 300 hours of anime. Wow. So he studied 600 hours and then 300 hours on top of that, so a 900-hour chunk of data over 3 years studying for his med studies. So in simple terms, his technique is a variation of the Pomodoro technique, which we've established. And this is one involving you work for 25 minutes, you do a break for 5 minutes, and then you work for another 25 minutes, 5-minute break, so on. The original Pomodoro schedule provides coffee breaks after 4 sessions, so forth. Now, the Animedoro technique mixes this up a bit. It uses Chen's model, but you'll work for 40 to 60 minutes at a time. So it's a bit more of a commitment. Mm-hmm. But the thing is then, you give yourself a 20-minute break, which is the amount of time you'll need to watch an episode of a TV show. Right, or an anime.
So this would really work for me, is all I can say, because I'd be working and then I'll have to watch some anime. And I'm like, oh God, I have to watch some anime. Watch it, and then at the end of it, I'll be like, oh yes, I'm back to work.
Yes. Yeah, it could work that way. I mean, one of the things about it, though, that I wondered about was if I like a cliffhanger episode, mm-hmm. and can you resist binging it all of a sudden, right? That moment where it tips into, no, I've got to see the next episode because I'm so wrapped up in seeing what happens next. So I'm unsure whether or not it will be effective, because it relies upon the anime fandomness of you, mm-hmm. right? It's like I'm rewarding myself, right? So I'm going to study for a longer period of time, 60 minutes, which is a long slog, right? And I'd say that could also be, for some people, it might fall apart there, because it's like 60 minutes. You could find yourself getting a little distracted up to 20. So you get a long period of time to study, and then you're looking forward to your anime as a reward. But 20 minutes, again, you can suddenly get yourself into a binge mode, and then a guilt mode, and then your rimmer. Yeah. You're not done your exam. Anyway, it's an interesting idea. So how do you break down your production schedule? Do you use pop culture? Do you reward yourself in any way after certain periods of time, or?
I just do it. That's what I do. Yeah. I do it. When I get bored, I'll do something else and then go back to it, and then it's done before I know it.
And you've been able to meet most of your assessment deadlines?
Yes.
You feel? Yeah.
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Okay. Because I guess, full disclosure here, I was your lecturer for a number of subjects.
Yeah.
And there was one great assignment which you never submitted, which mm-hmm. was the one you pitched. It was in the video game unit, I think, or
it was
something like that.
Yeah.
Pitched a very high concept idea of doing a Discord-based analysis mm-hmm. in K-pop, where you were going to create these bots. It's going to be emergent storytelling.
I failed every subject that semester and the semester after it. It was because of an
unrelated
reason.
Right? Not the Pomodoro technique. No. Not the. All right. Okay, fine. You're forgiven. During the Pomodoro technique could have helped.
Not in that case.
The Animedoro technique.
But I think I might use it for other things. Though I think I generally tend to do it automatically. I'll just take like a break of doing something, like a little online game match or something like that, and then go back to it again later, I reckon.
Are you defined by the binary opposition?
The same track.
Ever doubt a life of stable meaning? Want to trace it all? Edge Radio doesn't just offer you media. We offer you Media Mothership. Media Mothership, designed to reveal the aporias of today for 1 hour of difference. What are you waiting for? Hop on the Media Mothership.
All right, Media Mothership here. I'm Dr. Craig, joined by Lord Taylor. Australia's most painful creatures. What is the link between this article and media?
I'm going to have a guess, because there's a fellow that... What's his name? Something like Coyote something. And he got very popular on YouTube, filming himself being bitten.
That's right.
And stung by very many terrible things.
Yeah. I mean, it became a bit of a trend, right? So this was an article in abc.net.au. It was a piece written by Brianna Morris Grant, talking with venom expert Brian Fry.
I'd like to be a venom expert.
And he's ranking Australia's most painful creatures. And I just want to go through them because, it's in conversation with that huge trend which swept through. If you haven't seen those YouTubes of... there's a couple of YouTubes on the television. Where people basically...
So Australia's 10 most venomous creatures.
Number 10.
Number 10, Gina Reinhardt.
I have a stinger for that. It's the bull ant. What's interesting to me about the bull ants, so the article goes on to talk about... Have you ever been stung by a bull ant? Or bitten? The jack jumper?
Oh, the jack jumper, yes.
Yeah, because the article specifies the Australian jack jumper ant...
That's a bigger kind.
Is more likely to cause severe allergic reactions, and that's what a lot of people say about the jack jumper, that it can actually cause a.
And then we name a sports team after it.
Yeah,
go figure.
Well, they're aggressive. If you look at Tasmania, he's quoted as saying, "If you look at Tasmania, it seems there's something with that species of bull ant. It's not necessarily that there's more sting." But it seems to be a particularly allergic one.
Allergenic.
Sorry, I wonder what the difference is there. It's a bit of a Tasmanian rite of passage, possibly. Is it? SMSN
being
now.
Stung?
Yeah, 0488811707. Is it a rite of passage, right? Everyone has a story of getting their first jack jumper bite.
That's true. I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it weeds out the survival of the fittest. No, that's very cruel. Number 9, the giant water bug, which seems a little odd because it doesn't
water bug.
Yell out danger to me. Giant water bug. It's like, oh, you went down to the swamp.
Looks like a cockroach.
Yeah. So these bugs live mainly in fresh water near eastern Australia and the Indo-Pacific. So yeah, unlikely to be here in Tassie. It doesn't have mouth parts, so essentially it stabs you with this big drinking straw, injects you with a bunch of digestive enzymes, and then sucks it up. It kills its prey by digesting them to death, and it really, really hurts to be digested to death.
Wow.
Caterpillars is number 8. Have you been bitten by insects or any of these?
Oh, I've been bitten by everything.
Oh, well, let's keep going down the list. Maybe there's a story. So caterpillars were Professor Fry's first envenomation, which I guess is to be voluntarily venomed by
I think so, yeah.
And the memory's lasting. So it's quoted as saying, I was the dumb monkey who picked up the slow-moving animal that was brightly coloured and out during the daytime. He goes on to say, the really brightly coloured caterpillars of any kind are going to be the ones that are going to hurt you in some way. Right, that's interesting. Right, so anything really colourfully patterned.
Well, it's like the tree frogs, isn't it?
Right.
The brightest tree frogs are always the most venomous.
Yep.
Or ones that are trying to look venomous and they're not at all.
So so it goes on to say, if they've got spikes, you have a pretty good idea they're venomous. If they're smooth, you have a good idea they're poisonous.
Yeah.
So, venom, like it attacks you and injects venom, like a snake bite. It's venomous attack. Whereas if you eat something like the cane toad, right, that's poisonous, I believe.
I don't know. I've never eaten a cane toad.
The fugu, it's poisonous. So these caterpillars he's talking about have spikes. So you've got a pretty good idea there. So the poisonous ones are basically suicide bombers. They induce profound nausea, gastric pain. A bird that ate this is not going to forget it. Okay. Number 7 is the hellfire anemone. Anemone. Anemone? Anemone. It's a water-based one, right?
Yeah.
So he says it's exactly about as much fun as it sounds. Anemone. Its tentacles split into branches again and again, making it look like a little broccoli. The powerful stings can cause skin ulcers on humans. A mate of mine who was stung on a collecting trip, and he couldn't get out of bed for 3 days because he was in absolute agony.
So how did you pronounce broccoli?
Broccoli?
That's not how you spell it. Do you pronounce it?
How do you pronounce it?
You pronounced it broccoli.
Broccoli.
Like E. coli.
E. coli. Well, get around. There's another article about accents. It's easy to see why a person who discovered it got absolutely drilled by it because it's a very pretty animal. Oh. It's chemical Krav Maga. I don't understand those words.
I think Krav Maga is like a fighting, very vicious fighting that they teach for like the Marines, US Marines, I think.
Oh, right, really? Right. So yeah, it's saying it's basically a karate self-defense style, but chemically based. All right, number 6, crown of thorn starfish. I've been doing GoPro recently on the jetties.
Oh, really? Have
and
you?
Yeah, Ronan says that we video recorded one of these down at the Domain.
Oh, right.
Jetty there. If you would like to see those videos, I'll put them in the show notes. It's Big Fishing in Little Tassie. I've started that channel up last week.
I liked all your videos.
Yeah. So the crown of thorn starfish. All right. So up to 21 arms, hundreds of thorns, and a taste for coral. That's how the Australian Institute of Marine Science describes these starfish, which they say are in plague proportions. Yeah, and the GoPro footage I did under the jetty there at the Domain, it's just all starfish. It's just barren rock and starfish. It's horrible. Adults can grow up to 80 centimeters wide, so huge. When we were researching them, the spines were so sharp they just went through my gloves. It just hurt. So Professor Fry goes on to say they're commonly encountered by divers. They're treated like this invasive species, but they are in fact native to the barrier reef. It's not their fault, the professor goes on to say. It's not their fault. We created the perfect environment for them.
Do you know what the invasive species in Tasmania is? Which was brought over from Japan in the ballast of ships.
Seaweed? Or sea urchin?
Yes, seaweed.
Really?
It's the wakame.
Right.
And I think it's illegal to take it because they want to take it and like destroy it and make sure that its seeds don't go elsewhere.
Right. Yes.
It's very, very invasive.
But delicious.
Yeah.
The professor goes on to say that we removed the major predators of the crown of starfish, which were the big sea snails.
What did you call them? The
sea snails.
No, the starfish. You said the crown of
Crown of thorns.
Crown of thorns.
Crown of thorns. Weakened the defenses. Yep. So similar thing with the sea urchin, I've heard, that the sea urchin has been able to dominate certain parts of the Tasmanian eastern coast, I think most of it now, because the giant rock lobster has been harvested, and the size of them needs to be quite large to be able to kill the sea urchin.
Break it apart.
Yeah. So we have equally in Tassie created the perfect conditions for the sea urchin.
Well done, everyone.
Yay. But I think there are attempts, of course, Cyro and IMAS here to hopefully turn that back. Number 5 is more of a classic one. Oh, yeah. Redback spiders. You ever counted one of these guys?
I think I have. Somewhere. But it wasn't in Tasmania.
No, I don't. Yeah, I've not seen them in Tassie yet. So the Australian Museum says more than 250 people stung by these spiders need antivenom every year. The website's great because as you scroll down, it's got this little animation that kicks in of little red back spiders crawling across your screen.
It's very evil that they've done that.
So he describes the pain as an intense local pain. It's basically like putting your genitals into a welding torch. So that's
even if pain. It bites you on the arm, it still feels like that.
There have been no deaths reported since 1950s when the antivenom was introduced into Australia. Number 4, stingrays. Now, we saw a skate, which is related to the stingray, I'd imagine, over at Woodbridge footage available to see on Big Fishing in Little Tassie. I feel like I'm not. I mean, it's citizen science.
Of course.
It's going to be a little offshoot. I'm hoping to build it up for Media Mothership. Because, we dropped a GoPro off. And, there's amazing footage of escape that was underneath the jetty there. Anyway, so he goes, my personal top 3 most painful experiences in my life. Number 3 is scorpion in the Amazon. Number 2 is the stingray in Moreton Bay. The only thing that exceeds the stingray for me was breaking my back in 3 places. Wow.
Okay, so breaking your back in 2 places is less.
It's less. Unlike stonefish, the stingray has mechanical damage, he says.
Right.
It's not the going in that's the problem, but those barbs, when they yank it back, just leaves a jagged tear. Ugh.
Like good old Steve Irwin.
Yeah, that's right, 2006. Fatal stings are rare, with the most notable being the death of Australian conservationist Steve Irwin in 2006. Stonefish, here we go. Yeah, a couple of times I've seen these around Tassie.
Oh, really? Have
brought
you?
them up. Yeah. I think it was a stonefish.
I don't think they were in Tasmania.
I don't know. Maybe it's something. It's garnered then.
Oh, garnered.
Thing, yeah.
They kind of look
not
like
a stonefish,
that,
but good. Yeah. Spiky, and the spikes are venomous. Are they? Is that?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Masters of camouflage, stonefish have a series of spines along their back that can inject venom when stepped on. There are 2 types in Australia, the reef stonefish and the estuary stonefish, which is also called the horrid stonefish, or Cynansia horrida. I should put music underneath that. They're less potentially lethal doses than the box jellyfish, but like a box jellyfish, they can kill you from the pain alone. Oh, ouch. People have done things like cut their finger off to get the pain to stop.
Wow.
People lose their minds over the pain with the stonefish. The stonefish, like all fish, the venom is very sensitive to heat, so it breaks down very easily.
Okay.
All you have to do is put the affected limb in water for around 50 degrees. That's around 50 degrees, and you're fine. That's enough to denature the venom and stop the pain. All right, so like all fish, the venom is very sensitive to heat. So
wow.
Number 2 is the classic box jellyfish.
Oh, the classic.
Yep. There were reports of the box jellyfish. I think it was a box jellyfish down here in Tassie.
I think I saw one. Yeah.
The box
report, not one of them.
Yeah. The box jellyfish is named for its box-shaped bell or head, and it's most found in tropical waters along the top of Western Australia, Northern Territories, and through Queensland. It takes 2 meters of tentacle combined contact to kill you. All right, so 2 meters of tentacle combined. So if you manage to get 2 meters of a tentacle combined touching you, you're looking at death. But they've got 4 nodes of tentacles. Each node has 15 tentacles, and each tentacle can be 3 to 4 meters long. So if you do the maths, a big box jellyfish can potentially have 120 lethal doses brushing against your leg. Northern Territory's stinger season officially started October 1st last year and is expected to continue until May this year.
Why would you ever go into the water? That's all I can
Yeah, well, there are 2 ways to die from these stings, Professor Fry says. The first is within the first 2 to 5 minutes with the pain. That's going to be the shock. That's all about managing your blood pressure. Victims are crashing to lethal hypertension levels.
All right.
If they survive that, they have a 20 to 30 minute chance of 20 to 30 minutes later dying from cardiovascular collapse from the venom's direct effects on the cardiovascular system. Right. Wow. Venom's been described as taking an iron poker, heating it up to molten levels, dipping it in acid, and then whipping it as hard as you can across the person. Oh, they get dermonecrotic. Wow,
right.
Dermonecrotic burns,
So that
which are
killing
exactly
the skin.
wow. Dermonecrotic. It sounds like a video game. Number 1 is one I've never heard of: the irukanji. Irukanji.
I've never heard that before
No.
either.
Irukanji looks like another kind of jellyfish thing. So it causes extreme anxiety, shooting pains, fluid in the lungs, and potential brain hemorrhages. Wow. It may be just 1 to 2 centimeters large. You're kidding, 1 to 2 centimeters. That's tiny. But the irukandji jellyfish can have deadly impact. More than that, Professor Fry says it can be the mental injuries that cause far more damage. Your average civilian who gets stung by one of these things is not going to have the lifetime of mental scar tissue I've accumulated. All right, so he's talking about how he was able to get through it. Okay. Trauma is far and away the worst in this sense, and does cause actual mental injuries. So he goes on to say each tentacle is up to 1 meter long. So even though the body's only 1 to 2 centimeters, the tentacles are very long. So he goes on to say that the pain goes on for 2 weeks or more, successively getting worse as time goes on. It is a brutality, a physical torture, says Professor Fry. I've heard it from multiple people who've been stung, almost the exact same words, where they describe an impending feeling of doom.
Ooh.
There's this psychological effect that is as traumatizing to these people as the physical impact of the pain.
Like exams.
Oof, yeah. There's no antivenom. We have no way of neutralizing it at this point. All you can do is treat the symptoms. There's a million different ways to produce pain, and in the case of the irukandji, whatever pain pathway it's going through, it's not one of those pain pathways that morphine blocks. Morphine has no effect on these people.
Wow.
0. Yeah. That's a really fascinating point, isn't it? That, morphine and I guess other painkillers block certain pain pathways, but the irukandjis, the thing that it does to produce that pain can't be blocked by even something as powerful as morphine.
I wonder if a different poppy product would work. Because morphine is made out of poppies, and so is a number of illegal drugs. I wonder if they would end up working because they work in a different manner or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting to think, that there are some pains which are not treatable or still being discovered. All right. Moving on. I accepted all cookies. That's dangerous.
Wow.
ABC also has a little article talking about Australian accents changing across different generations, regions, and cultures. This is just a nice bit of audio talking about 3 types of Aussie accents. So this was a little piece from the Macquarie University's Department of Linguistics, breaking down how accents work and if there are differences. Now, the main difference...
Do the regional accent differences that it says there.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So it breaks down. So there are meant to be some regional accent differences. And the 3 words they tested are hear, pull, and dance. Right? I'll play they've recorded this as a little recording. We'll play first. So this is various Aussie accents from ABC presenters. Okay. And we'll see if you can hear the different ways that hear, pull, and dance are being said. Allegedly, I'll give you the cheat sheet in terms of regional differences. In Western Australia, they're meant to say here. New South Wales says her.
I thought that's like
her.
Here. Just here.
Pool
here.
says poo.
Pill.
In South Australia says pool. Pool. P-O-O-W. Pool.
I'll go to the pool.
So there's no L. Dance in South Australia, it sounds like aunts. Dance. So I'm from South Australia, so
that works.
In Queensland, it sounds like ants. Dance. So let's listen.
Let's listen.
It was working.
Wow.
Oh no, yeah, no,
That's
I
pretty
know
good,
why.
isn't
I
it?
know why. I know why.
Okay.
I know why. All right, I'll put on.
Okay, that helps. No, it doesn't help.
I did check this out. Oh, there we go. Yeah, how do you say dance anyway? You want to try that?
Dance. And I'm not from South Australia.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
No chance of clear skies in.
All right. Here we go. It's worth it.
Is that even coming through that?
Oh. Yeah.
Okay.
It's live radio, people.
Let's start with this
it's
one.
not.
Just read it out and then read it down into the camera.
There's no chance of clear skies here in Melbourne, but here we feel like going to the pool.
There's no chance of clear skies.
Oh, here we go. I choose headphones.
There's no chance.
There we go. All right. Sorry. All right. Okay, so each one of these presenters says the following phrase: "There's no chance of clear skies in Melbourne, but here we feel like going to the pool." So there's no chance
Getting going.
of clear skies in Melbourne, but here we feel like going to the pool.
Okay.
Let's start with this one. Just read it out and then read it down into the camera.
There's no chance of clear skies here in Melbourne, but here we feel like going to the pool.
There's no
So again, that was the pool.
Chance.
Right, there's no
and
L. It's
pool.
like P-U-W, pool.
Pool.
This next one's from Sydney.
No chance of clear skies in Melbourne, but here we feel like going to the pool.
All right, so yeah, I can hear a bit more of an L.
Here.
Pool.
Pool.
Here. Yeah, so that H-E-E-R.
There's no chance of clear skies in Melbourne, but here we feel like going to the pool.
Ah.
Here.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. So, and then many people say there's no, it's not much of a difference in the Australian accent. And really there isn't. I mean, you have to really drill down. There's slight intonation differences, I think. So, yeah. Historically, researchers have classified Australian accents as broad, general, and cultivated. So the idea being that the broad accent, think of someone like your Steve Irwin, maybe your Paul Hogan. It's not, Paul Hogan's going back a bit, so Steve Irwin. General accents, which are the most common. So the example they give is Kevin Rudd, which I have no memory
Very
of.
common.
Yeah, common.
Yeah.
And the cultivated accents, which people can see as a bit more posh, think of your Kate Blanchett,
Yeah.
right? So, like the dance. Do you go to the dance? I guess it's cultivated.
Yeah, that's very
South
cultivated.
Australians. So, yeah, that's the stereotype of how people in the past have tried to classify the Australian accent. I'll play this. It's a nice little clip from this ABC show where they interviewed people in the 1950s, I think, 60s, talking about the Aussie accent. We'll listen to the start of it, see if there's a difference in the voices we hear here. Here.
Hello everybody, we're in the international part of Sydney today, King's Cross, under rather doubtful looking skies, to ask the passing people a question. What is our question? Oh yes, do Australians speak with a bad accent?
No, not really. I think they're careless in their speech, but I don't think it's a bad accent. I'm a true Aussie, and I really like to talk about them really well. So I don't think there's anything wrong with their speech at all, only that they're a little careless.
You're proud of yourself as an Australian?
I am.
Bad accent? Yeah, bad accent. A bad accent? Yes, a bad accent. I don't think so. I think they got a good accent. Do you think Australians speak with a bad accent?
No, good accent.
Why do you say that?
Oh.
Do you think Australians speak with a bad accent?
No, I think they speak with a very good accent.
Why do you say that?
Real Australian. Real Australian. Because we're the same. Because we're Australian.
Do you think Australians speak with a bad accent?
Well, it just depends. Some of them do, some of them don't. It just depends.
We could try that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk around, do vox pops. Do you think Australians speak with a poor accent? I don't know. Cultural cringe, tall poppy syndrome. I mean, Australians are notorious for having that kind of self-deprecating narrative towards themselves. Interesting about accents, I always like the story of Kath and Kim, people trying to learn the Australian accent. So Kath and Kim was this mechanism people were learning Australian accents through. Look at Moy. So,
and then fast forward to today, where Bluey is the main one of that.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, I don't think the Australian accent... Well, I mean, gone are the days where Mad Max notoriously was dubbed into American English because the sense was that it would not be understood with that accent for an American audience, or your Midwest or whatever. Yeah.
Did you hear that it's Bluey month this month at Bunnings, also known as Hammer Barn?
Wow. I wonder how much they invested into getting that.
So if you go to Glenorchy Bunnings, it's rebranded as Hammer Barn now. And you can go in there and buy some things from the show and that sort of thing.
Right. I've not seen Bluey. Curses. Is Hammer Barn an in-world
reference sort of to Bunnings?
Wow.
Yeah. And they've sort of like taken it on board, and they had these like garden gnomes featuring little garden gnomes that look like dogs that were in the show. And I went there really early on and bought 4 of them. They've now gone down to where you can only buy 1 of them, and most places have sold out. So I bought them for $19 each, and they're now up around $250 each.
Yeah, it reminds me of those Ushi things, Woolworths, where it's like suddenly there's a speculator market. What would Karl Marx say? What's the use value versus exchange value of these products, right?
Exactly.
So they're kind of garden gnome things.
They're little garden gnome things. They're really cheaply made, but the thing is, they're not available in America. And America will pay a pretty penny to get it from here.
Right, because, of course, yes, Bluey, incredibly successful Australian Japanese anime. Sorry, when I'm thinking of successful cartoons, it's like, it's Japanese, right? In this case, Australia being able to actually produce content for
something that's
the
good,
global
very
market.
strange.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the Wiggles, we seem to have the ability to create quite engaging children's content, which is fantastic.
And you've got like kids in America now who are going around with Australian accents because they've learned it through Bluey.
Right. Yeah, look at it in K-pop. After this, we've got K-pop coming up in 15 minutes.
Yep.
There's Australian K-pop performers who will be interviewed and asked to say something in Australian English.
Yeah, and they'll say, what did they say that was kind of creepy? There was something, wasn't there?
Yeah, I forget now. We'll see if we can dig it up, play it on the episode again. So, I mean, what's interesting to me about this, though, is I always love that soft power theory. It's a little dated and has been...
superseded?
Yes, but still, I think it explains... at one level, quite effectively, the idea of at least recognizing how ideas of global power isn't simply the country which has the most military. It can involve the perception of other countries' cultural identity. And if you have, the question there being, how do you get other countries to, see you as positive? Either for instrumentalist purposes, like driving a tourist industry, or wanting to negotiate trade deals or something. And one way is through culture, this idea of soft power rather than hard power military. So it is interesting that Bluey represents parts of Australian identity, certainly at a language level, right? The Australian vernacular.
Yeah, and they use a lot of the words that, what's it called?
Like the Kath and Kim is
common words that a particular place uses.
Drongo.
Yeah, ones like that.
Struth. And it isn't interesting then how, I guess in terms of media mothership, you have a property like Bluey that then a commercial company like Bunnings decides that it matches in some way, right? So obviously they perceive in Bluey aspects of a Bunnings identity, which overlaps. They can see as expressing it, but then taking that extra step of doing a bit of world building and labeling aspects of the store in the Bluey universe language. I mean, I quite like that idea as someone that's been to Disneyland a number of times. Those kind of efforts to immerse one in a fictional space. Well, SMSN now, if you've had any experiences down there of Bluey, 0488811707. Or see, the other aspect that you're hinting to here is how you've got that kind of cultural economy of Bluey. So people going into Bunnings to enjoy, the cultural connections. I'm a Bluey fan, and I'm going to go there and have a kind of, instead of a boring time, a little bit magical. Wow, this is much more interesting. But then you've got a kind of fan economy there, or not, maybe fan or speculator economy, right, where there are collectibles, and then you've got that narrative of demand and supply, so that there's a speculator market that can occur. I mean, I came across a really interesting article about the Louvre in France, I think it was the Louvre, that had a special exhibition linking Vincent van Gogh's work and Pokemon.
Right. I think I saw that.
Yeah. And they released a number of Pokemon cards that were done in that impressionistic Vincent van Gogh style with a grey bowler hat or something. And there were a number of firings that occurred in the Louvre of the staff that were hired, because the staff started to grab cards to then sell on sale. Right? So, this weird economy can break out.
I think I heard that there was some sort of violence with it as well. Like, people were like shoving people, trying to get to the front, trying to get these cards.
Well, yeah, because they had to. The article was talking about how they've after a short period of time they stopped saying they were available. They withdrew the availability of all of them. You can't go there to get cards. So they completely stripped away that whole fanishness of it, and instead, but again, the question there is, why are people engaging with it? Is it for the art? Because I guess the idea being that Pokemon could be an entry gateway into art, right? You got high art and low art in a way, right? High art, your classical art gallery, and you got low art with Pokemon, right? And in a way, I guess Van Gogh's work not considered, was considered popular for or actually notoriously not popular.
During his lifetime.
Not say there's a number of really interesting things to unpack there.
I believe it would just be Pokemon card collectors. Because there are a lot of them trying to get everything, and
McDonald's had the same thing when they did Pokemon cards that were available, and then there was a whole speculators market. And once you get into that economy of limited edition runs, inevitably it's going to be taken over by a predatory, speculator market. What's really interesting to me is that starts generating media. Like, the very fact that it becomes seen as rare and valuable becomes the media story. Like, this card it becomes meaningful and people want to get it now. Because there's this horrible cycle which that can unleash, and the psychology behind it fascinates me. That kind of FOMA, the fear of missing out. That can overtake people. And at the end of the day, of course, when you're looking at the actual material costs of these objects, are minuscule, right? The actual cost of that Pokemon card or the clay gnome Bluey is minuscule, right? A few dollars. It has some markup to cover costs. And then you have these moments where they'll be taken over by a speculator market, and you're no longer talking about what the value of this object is in terms of what are its material costs, what's its use value, what's its exchange value.
It's the rarity.
You've got this whole fan speculator economy, and look, we're going to set up a future show There's a number of people. There's like Wookie. I hear this reference to this guy called Wookie in Tassie. He has a store, pop culture store, that trades and sells in pop culture stuff. So it'd be interesting to break that down. I know Marcus has been on the show, has confessed his own collector interests with video games from the 80s, which he'll collect. We had a Castle Grayskull in here 2 weeks ago because I was complaining about my Castle Grayskull having been thrown out in a one of those cleaning binges. There's Marie Koenig's cleaning binge. Anyway, that's Media Mothership. Keep listening now to K-Pop Unlimited. Anything going on with K-Pop Unlimited?
Just some songs.
Great.
And
Great.
Your ill-informed chat.
Yeah, it would be great. So keep listening to Edge Radio. We've got K-Pop Unlimited coming up next. This will be Media Mothership for another week. We'll post up, if you're interested in these articles, we'll post them up to show notes, which you can find on the Media Mothership YouTube page or Facebook page. Yep, Facebook page. So do hunt that down. And yeah, there's been no comments, so I assume the 8-second